Hello and welcome back to the show. Today we are reviewing Everton Man City. It has resulted in a 2-0 win to Man City, a double, a brace by Erling Haaland. And they scored their first two goals, their only two goals, of their first two shots on target. So if you really want to quantify how good Everton's performance was, their ability to limit the amount of shots on target Man City had meant that they gave themselves the best chance to pick up something from this game, because this in a lot of ways was a free hit. And the fact we were in the game for as long as we were, I think that's a testament to our hard work. But that being said, whether you concede a goal in the 70th minute, the first minute, it doesn't really matter. It all counts the same. You're not picking up points if you don't score goals and you don't have more by the end of the game. So ultimately, we end the game losers. Winning is a little bit foreign to us at the moment. Earlier in the season, we were saying the complete opposite thing. So let's dive into the review in what was a game that isn't as reflective as the scoreboard would suggest. So first and foremost, player of the match. And for the second consecutive week, it's Idrissa Gana Gueye. And he was so crucial to a lot of the things we did today in terms of pressuring Man City, making things as slow as possible for them. In a lot of ways, this game was very similar to the game we played against Spurs last week. It wasn't about completely eliminating. It was more about limiting, what Man City could and couldn't do. Man City seemed very frustrated, and the crowd reflected that. And I think we did a great job of really riling them up in a lot of ways, even though we weren't being the sort of team to possess antics, if that makes sense. It was more through our play. A lot of times we were in triangle formation, so three or so Everton players would trap one City player, and it allowed us to not only slow things down, but also win possession back in a game where we really couldn't get much possession at all. So those moments were vital. And Idrissa Gana Gueye was a key cog in all that. He was aligning himself with the positioning of DCL very high up the pitch to sort of try help keep things up that end of the pitch. And equally, he was tracking back. He was sliding in and, challenging and succeeding when he did challenge. And then also in the center of the park, he was working with the wingers and the fullbacks in order to keep things along the touchline and ensure that City really couldn't get anything going in those more dangerous areas of the pitch. And he was a workhorse, man. He was a workhorse, and for the second consecutive week, I can't really say he put a foot wrong. He did really everything that we needed him to do. And, that's what you command from those sort of players in midfield. They need to do everything. And of course, today was never going to be clean possession-wise. But what we really needed to get right today was the defensive work. And Idrissa Gana Gueye, well, that is his game to a T. So I guess that was, a match made in heaven. And that's why he excelled today. So player of the match goes to him. I think honourable mention to the centre-backs. Now, I do want to point out Jarrad Branthwaite. I think he had a really good game today because, there was some very sticky situations where we definitely could have conceded and probably would have if we did have Michael Keane back there. But Jarrad Branthwaite was very assured when those crosses came in, and they were fizzing in. So credit to him for remaining composed. But that being said, for a player of his youth, there are going to be a ton of experiences and learning lessons. And it's fair to say that Erling Haaland pushing him off the ball, that's going to be a learning lesson in itself. Granted, Erling Haaland is probably one of the strongest, number nines in the entire world. So, if there's ever going to be a challenge that Jarrad Branthwaite won't shy away from, it's probably that one. But of course, you can only go so far with will, power, and work rate. Sometimes you're just out muscled in the weight room, and it's fair to say that Erling Haaland had the better of him. Um, Look, the first goal that was conceded was just luck. I mean, it's just such a pain in the ass because I hate this team more than Liverpool. Obviously, in the UK, Everton fans will despise Liverpool fans, and the team, probably more than fans. But if there is a group of players that I couldn't despise more, it's probably Man City. And of course, they have to score that jammy bullshit that just like any other team is not getting that ball ricocheting to them, let alone their best striker. You know, it happened to land right in the lap of Haaland, and it took like five different ricochets to get there. You know, it's just sometimes you just put it down to luck, and it had to fall fortuitously to get to Haaland, and it did. And you know, coaching can only get you so far. Those ones just you're really helpless. You know, you've got your hands tied behind your back. So, look, I think that really summed up the sort of performance that we delivered. We needed to get undone by a bit of luck, in order to, you know, get broken apart. And then obviously the second goal was courtesy of us chasing the game, trying to be a little bit more possession centric. And you know, we were killed on the break, and that was to be expected. That's why all game long we had been so compact, congesting, you know, the defensive third, because we knew that if we allowed them to play with pace and Haaland could play one on one, it was going to be curtains much earlier than what it was. So, um, look, I actually think that we gave ourselves a good chance of potentially getting back in the game because Amadou Onana, it seemed like there was a little bit of evidence in his play that, you know, he was trying to get the Everton midfield ticking and was trying to make a few things happen. And there were some passes that, you know, quick, pacey. He was very direct in his play. And I think if Amadou Onana can stay on the park, I think that's going to go a long way in terms of relegation survival. Um, and then obviously we had a couple late chances ruled out to offside. Beto was not really getting into the right positions. Well, he was, but you know, he needed to delay the runs more. That being said, I've not seen an Everton striker finish the goal as well as he did in stoppage time. And I guess to see a ball go in the back of the net, getting by a really good keeper in Edison, I think, well, hopefully that's a sign, you know, that we may be seeing a little bit more from Beto. I don't know. I'm really grasping at loose straws. If we look at other subs, I think Seamus Coleman did a really good job on Doku. Ben Godfrey did look very exposed on that right-hand side. But that being said, given he was ill and a bit under the weather, I think credit to him for playing as well as he did. He did get bypassed a couple of times. The ball, you know, sat well for Doku, and Godfrey overcommitted. But for the most part, outside of maybe a 10-minute patch, I think he really held up well. Do I think that the Godfrey-Coleman swap made any difference in whether we scored or conceded? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think it would have impacted the result, but you've got to recognise the change nonetheless. And look, I did mention earlier that Idrissa Gana Gueye was the barometer. He was really setting the tone nicely and helping us with those triangle sort of schemes to really cram the Manchester City midfielders as they were trying to progress the play forward. I do have to recognise Jack Harrison's role in that as well, because he was covering a lot of ground as well, and he was switching positions. He had to get back to help the congestion side of things. As a number 10, you know, obviously working with the number 9, but in order to work with the number 9 and ensure DCL wasn't isolated, he had to work his way all the way up to assist and aid DCL. That cohesion didn't seem to be there. DCL looked a little bit off it. Granted, things were never going to be easy with Man City defenders being well and truly in the fray, being present. So, you know, it was always going to be a tall order. Not many spaces to move, we wouldn't have very prolonged periods of possession for more than like a 5 minute period at a time. So yeah, I think, look, I think we entered the game with a plan, executed it quite well. I think we executed it perfectly, to be honest. But once that luck element came into play, you know, the Everton players were protesting that that wasn't even a corner. And you could have made a case. I looked at the replay, it looked like it made contact with DCL and Ruben Dias at the exact same time. So, of course, it was always going to go the way of Man City. And ultimately, the luck went their way off a bit of a ricochet. And from there, once we concede first, infamously, we cannot win games if we trail at any stage. It's always a long road back from there, let alone against Man City. It was always going to be a really tall order, but from then on, we were probably destined to concede another one. So this was a free hit. I think we played really well. I think we put ourselves in the best position to win. That being said, sometimes not even that is enough when, class can prevail and the champions found a way. So no surprises there, but look, I don't think this is one you can really fault us for. And it seems like that is really becoming a common theme, a common trend over the last few game weeks. It hasn't been one that's been bereft of effort. It's just been one where we probably haven't had the firepower up front to outscore and get the job done. So moving forward, we have Crystal Palace in about 10 days' time. That is a huge game. That one's at home. That is one we've absolutely got to win because there are some winnable fixtures on the horizon, and it starts there. If you can win that game, then you can carry that momentum forward, and to have momentum going into that run of games, that block of games, which are very winnable on paper, you need that. You need to thrive off of that. So it's going to be interesting to see. I hope you enjoyed this one. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe if you are new. We'll be back for Everton Palace in, 10 days' time, that review. But yeah, until then, stay safe. Have a good one. And we'll see you soon. Have a good one. Bye for now.